Readers,
reviewers,
countrymen,
book hoarders,
lend us your ears.
Welcome back to the Brothers Gwynne channel. Today, as you may be able to tell from the title, we will be talking about a book haul. So these are the books that we've bought over recent months that we've not yet got to reading, and I think we've got 44.
Something like that.
I
think we have a very specific number.
I think we have a number
and
that
I think
counted.
it should take us 22 minutes and 55 seconds. Yeah, I mean, I love these videos because it just shows all of the reading months that are to come. So I'm very excited about it.
And I think we've got a lot to talk about, so let's just get straight in there.
First of all then, courtesy of the wonderful The Broken Binding, which is a lovely bookseller which you should all go and shop at immediately, I purchased this, which is the Shadow of the Gods copy. Now, Shadow of the Gods came out 2 months ago, and I just don't want to unwrap it, but what is within the pages, this wrapping, is this book. So I know what it's going to be. I have read it, so I just thought I'm going to keep this in here as a bit of a collector's item, perhaps. I don't know. I just like it. I love the green ribbon. The Broken Binding always do fantastic wrapping. It looks so nice. A bit like my mum's wrapping, which is so good when it's Christmas time. You can't actually open it. But yeah,
Christmas time takes out the actual real endeavour of Christmas Day is actually opening them.
Yeah, takes like 7 hours. That's just for one. So yeah, but the Broken Binding are great, and Matt from the Broken Binding is helping us organise lots of fantastic interviews coming your way.
So there we go, that's Shadow of the Gods, and in my pile I have W.B. Yates, his collection of his finest poetry. And I'm really looking forward to diving into this. I've read through studies at college Byzantium, Sailing to Byzantium, so he's very interested in that kind of classical imagery and that classical revival, which I love. A lot of mythological references, and so I love his style of writing. It's quite accessible but complex at the same time, so here we go.
Excellent. And I have Manda Scott's Boudicca. I think this one's Dreaming the Eagle. So this is book 1 of a historical fiction series all about the Celtic Iceni Queen Boudicca. So I know this could be fantastic. I've actually read the prologue. Dad recommended it to me. I think when we read it together a few months ago, he was just giving me some tips on writing, and it was amazing, fantastic. So I cannot wait to read this, hopefully this year.
And Papa Gwynne just cannot give it enough praise.
No, he loves it.
And next in my pile I have At Night All Blood is Black by David Diop. This is the most recent Booker Prize winner, and so when I heard it won the Booker Prize, I thought, oh, let's give it a look, see what it's about. And the concept is amazing. It's basically about the trauma of war and how far violence can take you. This isn't about a pacifist, which I've read a few stories about pacifists during World War I and World War II. This is the opposite. This is someone who gives themselves a challenge and goes and cuts off the hand of an enemy soldier every night. And he goes from being hailed as this hero to being pushed aside and seen almost as a demon. So I'm looking forward to reading this, hopefully this month. So there we go, At Night All Blood is Black.
And I have here Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee by D. Brown. Now this is considered to be essential reading if you're reading about Native American cultures and the history of the tribes in America. So I knew I had to get this, and I am really looking forward to reading it. I don't know too much about the latter end of the war between the Native American tribes and the United States Army.
And next I have one of the big guns. This is Before They're Hanged by Joe Abercrombie. Currently reading the blade itself, and it's just awesome.
Yeah, it's so good.
I mean, it's grimdark, but it's got this wonderful, just light tone in between the severity of everything else, which I think you need in stories like this. And Before They're Hanged is the second instalment of the First Law trilogy.
Yeah, its light tone is mocking people as they get
tortured. It's
tortured.
satirical to the highest fault that I've ever seen.
My next book is Max Hastings' Warriors. Now, I know that Max Hastings is a really widely known and respected historian.
He's fantastic.
He's a war historian, isn't he? So, and I just thought I really need to get this because it's called Warriors. It's all about different tales and different stories about different soldiers in, again, different periods and different wars. So it's tales that people don't know too much about. It's not like the obvious characters about Napoleon or anything like that. It's about the people in the all in the thick of the action, the soldiers, and the amazing stories that happen behind enemy lines, on the frontier, etc.
I'm probably going to be borrowing that from you.
Maybe.
And this is, again, First Lord trilogy. I also bought, again from the Broken Binding, the third instalment in this, the First Lord trilogy. And this has got a bookplate signed by Joe Abercrombie within somewhere. There we go. Look at that. That's awesome, isn't it?
That is cool.
And so there we go. I'm hoping to finish this series in the next month or so. And so there we go. I've got to have the whole series lined up with these beautiful covers.
And my next one is The Serpent Sword by Matthew Harvey. I did recently read this, and I do have the old paperback, but they've just done a new print release of a new cover version for the series, and I really love the direction they're taking these covers in. So I thought, as a collector, is it kleptomaniac? Someone who collects things? Yep, I had to get this, absolutely. So I'm a book hoarder, and this will have a nice space on my shelf.
And you're proud of it.
Absolutely.
And the next one I have is Le Morte d'Arthur by Sir Thomas Mallory. So this is one of the most well-known Arthurian retellings. This actually caused a revival of the Arthurian legend. It dropped a bit. I don't believe that it would have gone out of fashion, but I think that Mallory just came along at the right time in the right place. And a lot of the legend as we see it today is down to this man here, because he added some very key changes, which I learned and studied about in a dissertation kind of my own project that I did for school last year, and I loved reading about it, so I'm hoping that I love reading this as much.
I'm certain that you will, William, and I'm hoping I enjoy this book as well, which is Napoleon the Great by Andrew Roberts.
You're having quite a greater interest in Napoleon and the
yeah, absolutely
19th century, aren't you?
You know, when you find out more about historical periods, you see what influenced them, and then you see what came before them as well. And Napoleon's always, that era has been something I've never really been into, to be honest. But then I started reading about the Crimean War, and then I started thinking about what happened before that as well. And then I read The Fatal Battle. I can't remember who the author was of that, but it did a study of Waterloo. So I just thought I need to definitely go and get this, all about Napoleon. I think he was quite a character, quite a figure through history. He's one of the very well-known and charismatic people of the world. So I'm really looking forward to reading about his life, and I think this is considered to be, I mean, it's a beast anyway, it's considered to be one of the good starting texts about Napoleon.
And there's going to be a film about Napoleon soon, isn't there, with Joaquin Phoenix,
yes,
directed by Ridley Scott.
It's going to be amazing, absolutely.
Great.
Ridley Scott, Joaquin Phoenix, what could go wrong?
Well, last time they were together, I think the last time they worked together was Gladiator.
I believe so, yeah.
That's an amazing film. And the next book I have is The Laws of the North by Burnham Cornwell. I've been poaching Papa Gwynne's copies of these books while I've been reading through, but our lamb ate one of the covers. Not everyone can say that. So I went and bought a new copy, and here it is. So I'm including this in the book haul. And this is the third instalment of the Saxon Stories by Bernard Cornwell, which has been adapted into the Last Kingdom series on Netflix.
And my next book that I purchased was The Heavenly Table by Donald Ray Pollock. There you go. This is, I've seen it as kind of like a gothic novel, and this is the author who did The Devil All the Time, I believe, which is now a film on Netflix.
With Tom Holland.
Yeah, that's it. Tom Holland and Robert Pattinson, yeah, and quite a few others. But apparently this is a really good kind of, not quite modern, but more of a modern western, similar to, you know, The Highwayman on Netflix as well. Something similar to that kind of period. But I know that Daniel Pollock has quite a reputation for really beautiful writing, stark and quite extreme characters, as well as very, very dark stuff. So I'm looking forward to the grittiness and reading this.
And my next one is something else we bought from the Broken Binding. This isn't just an endless advert for them. We actually do buy a lot from the Broken Binding. This is The Would-Be Queen by Edward Cox. Edward Cox seems like a really lovely guy. He did a pitch for The Would-Be Queen in our June releases video.
I love the title. And, so good.
It's a very clever name. And this is meant to be a feel-good fantasy, which I love the idea of, because sometimes we don't need to be just bogged down by the severity of all these stories, do we?
This would be good to read after a Joe Abercrombie book.
Yeah,
just to bring you back
a little
pick
me up.
Yeah.
And so this is The Would-Be Queen by Edward Cox. I'm not quite sure when I'll get around to this, but definitely in the coming months, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Excellent. And the next book on mine is a non-fiction about the Sengoku Jidai period in Japan. So it's about I think it's about three characters: Nobunaga, Ieyasu, and I can't remember the other one. Does it say on there? Hideyoshi. There you go. I don't know how to say them. But, so this is about the three lords of Japan. I think they were at war with each other during this period. And, you know, if you played Shogun 2 Total War or Shogun 1 Total War, which I remember playing back in the day, then you'll know a little bit about this period. I think I've always been fascinated with it, and I'd just love to do a bit more research around the samurai. And I think this is a book that people say to start with. So I'm really looking forward to this.
And earlier on, Ed mentioned that he's reading Warriors by Max Hastings, or he's got a copy of Warriors. And I'm a huge fan of Max Hastings. I've read his book on Churchill as Warlord. I will ignore that. If you've watched some other videos, you'll realise that Ed makes this joke basically every single time. And for him, he finds it funny every single time. But this is...
I work at a school, so dad jokes are...
your thing.
My thing.
They are your thing. This is Operation Pedestal by Max Hastings, and this is a bit of a closer look at some of the events within World War II, so I'm really looking forward to reading about this.
Sounds good, Will. And I will be reading Edgar Allan Poe's selected works. So I know that he's a great poet. I've been watching The Following.
See, this is where I get a bit worried, because The Following is about a cult, and the cult murder people based on the poems of Edgar Allan Poe. And then, a few days later...
I thought it must be good.
I see a book on the side, and it says Edgar Allan Poe poems.
Thing is, though...
So you can get why I'm a bit worried.
I'm going to say, listen, when they were doing the murders, they were quoting some awesome lines. And I was like, I need to read this. So, I've heard a lot about Poe, so I'm really looking forward to this. But yeah, I'm in a bit of a poetry kick at the moment. So, a poetry kick. I like that. Very nice. So yeah, Edgar Allan Poe will be a read very soon on the channel.
And then I'm going to follow that up with The Gale and the Mountain by Mark Lawrence. This came out in late April. I usually read Mark Lawrence books as soon as they come out, but this one I've been a bit delayed, had exams, threw me off a bit, and I kind of had this behind my shelves. I meant to reorganise them, and so I haven't seen this to spark my memory, but I will be definitely getting to this soon. It has come to the light.
The Girl and the Camouflage.
And that's going to be the final.
Another book is called Ordinary Men by Christopher Browning. So I was talking to Matt from the Broken Binding, and again, you know, and he recommended this to me because we were talking a little bit about World War II and the atrocities that the Nazis committed, as well as the Soviet Union. But also, he mentioned that there's a great book called Ordinary Men, which is about how the Nazis put together a police force in Poland, and how this police force were just ordinary men, as it were, and they went out and they did lots and lots of the slaughtering and all these horrible deeds, and it just goes into how, you know, why would they do that, going into the psychology, I think, behind it. So yeah, this is apparently another essential text surrounding World War II and the Nazis and how they manipulated and controlled people.
And I'm going to read soon Bring Up the Bodies by Hilary Mantel. I recently finished the first instalment of this series, which is Wolfhall. And both Wolfhall and Bring Up the Bodies won the Booker Prize, which is crazy to win in 2 consecutive books. I think that's just testament to the skill of Hilary Mantel.
Did it not win for the 3rd?
No, it didn't. It was a big surprise because a lot of people see The Mirror and the Light as the strongest.
Do you think they were just like, series. She cannot win 3 years in a row?
But yeah, it has never been done with 3 works
Has it been done for twice though?
I think only one other person ever. So she's the 2nd and the first woman. And so Bring Up the Bodies, it will be following Thomas Cromwell into some more political dangers, I'm imagining. Obviously it's set in the 16th century following Henry VIII, and Thomas Cromwell was one of his advisors. It's an amazing story of how he rose from being not quite a commoner but very low down in society to becoming one of the most powerful men in the country, and to do that during a time where everything was so structured and rigid depending on your birth, and hierarchy was so important. It's amazing. And Hilary Mantel just depicts it wonderfully in her prose. Not flowery, but definitely lyrical, I would say. So there we go, Bring Up the Bodies by Hilary Mantel.
I'm looking forward to reading that one. And talking about World War II still for me, I then bought the Gulag Archipelago. I think it's Archipelago, or is it Archipelago?
I'm
not
no
too sure. But this is by, I won't even try and say this guy's name, to be honest. But again, this is apparently another text surrounding the Soviet Union and what they did when they invaded Germany. So again, just do a little bit of research around that area, and it's I think I'm going to find it very interesting and fascinating. I watched a film called Come and See, which is, I think, is a Russian or a Belarusian film from the 80s, and it just blew my mind. It was incredibly horrible, but you know, just what a fantastic film. It's probably the most, I don't know about accurate because I haven't experienced it, but it seems to me the most accurate depiction of war in a country that is really suffering. So it was really interesting seeing how the Belarus people put up a defense against the incoming Nazis, and really there was no defense. So yeah, that sparked my interest in this area, and this will be on the reading pile very soon.
And following on from talking about Bring Up the Bodies, I also have The Mirror and the Light, which is an absolute tome of a book. I mean, just picking it up, I can tell the difference of the sizes. I mean, I thought this was
6
big.
kilograms?
And then
5 kilograms.
Wow, look at that. So hopefully I'll be finishing this series in the next 3 years.
Yeah, and then you can use them as weapons.
Yeah, that is obviously why I bought them, obviously. Not for the reading experience, but as weapons.
Very nice. And the next book that I got is another non-fiction. I'm in a bit of a phase at the moment, and it's by Terry. I can't even read sideways. What's the point of me doing this? It's by someone, and it's called Owen Glyndwr. And this is a famous Welsh. I think he's kind of the Welsh version of William Wallace.
Yeah.
He was a rebellion lord. Yeah. A leader in the, I think it's the 15th century, right at the beginning, against England. So you know, obviously everyone uprises against England at some point or other, don't they? Quite right too. But yeah, so Owen Glyndwr, I'm looking forward to reading this. We're a very Welsh-centred family. We have lots of Welsh blood in us. Gwynne is Welsh, so you know, we're feel very much akin to this guy.
And next I have Ariel by Sylvia Plath. It's a very small story. I think this is the only book that
name, Sylvia Plath, a lot.
She's one of the she's one of the most famous poets of all time. So she was married to Ted. She's not very tall. She was married to Ted Hughes, and obviously a very complex and sad relationship between those two. Probably two of the most famous contemporary poets. But it's a very sad story, but I think they're both fantastic poets if you separate the writer from the product. And Ariel is the story that I think the only one that Sylvia Plath wrote, and apparently it is an amazing insight not only into her own life, but also into mental health as well.
Okay.
So it's meant to be really interesting and very unique, and apparently no one's done anything quite like this since.
Very nice, thank you, Will. And a book I got is a historical fiction this time. It's by Mary Renault, and it's called The King Mustang. And I think this is a book about Theseus. She did a series about Theseus, the Greek mythological figure. So this book was recommended to me by Christian Cameron, who I spoke to recently, because I've been reading his Killer of Men series, and I'm absolutely addicted now. And I think he's persuaded me to come over to the bronze side, as it were, for the Greeks. So I've been researching ancient Greeks and reading lots about them, and he said this is a great historical fiction. This inspired him, and I've seen lots and lots of people say that she's the queen of ancient Greek historical fiction, so I'm really looking forward to this.
Great. And now I don't want to take this ribbon off. I was very lucky to win some of these, so I'm just going to leave the ribbon on and go through them.
Do you want me to hold them for you?
That's fine. I can share. I can multitask.
I
think so.
You can't. No one multitasks because it's multi-failing.
Multi-failing. But the top one, I'll just do all 4 in a row. I might as well, mightn't I?
Yeah, go on.
So the top one is A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. Not quite sure what it's about, but I know it's one of his most successful works. And I've read The Old Man and the Sea and For Whom the Bell Tolls, and they're both amazing. 2 of my favourite books of all time. For Whom the Bell Tolls especially. Love that story. I love how Ernest Hemingway depicts conflict, but also how he shows he doesn't romanticize it, but he shows the reasons why people would engage with conflict that may be justifiable, but also the consequences upon them. And I believe A Farewell to Arms may be somewhat similar. And then next we have The Silence of the Girls, which is by Pat Barker. Again, I've read one of her works before, Regeneration. Loved the style, and this is about the siege of Troy.
So is she a modern author?
Yes, she is.
Cool.
She's won the Booker Prize as well. And this is from the perspective of Briseis, who I believe is a witch in it, or she may not be. She's a priest, and she is taken by the invading Greeks, obviously by Achilles. and it just sounds incredibly interesting and a
Greek
fresh
mythology
fresh
for you there
twist
as well.
And then next we have Hamnet, which I'm not really sure what it's about, but I think it won the Women's Prize for Literature
Who's it
last
by?
year. Let me see.
I
I need my glasses.
Fail.
Maggie O'Farrell. So I can't really say anything else there, but obviously
Sounds good, Will.
I won these, so I didn't choose it, but
Mm-hmm.
they gave it to me. So they obviously think that I may enjoy it. And at the bottom of the pile is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osmond. This is one of the not biggest, most successful releases of the last year, and it's about a group of retired pensioners, I believe, meeting up and solving a murder, which sounds really great and engaging.
That sounds cool.
Papa Gwynne and Mama Gwynne read it at the end of last year and said it was really fantastic. So looking forward to all 4 of these.
Why don't you tell everyone why you won that, Will?
So I finished college 2 weeks ago, and
I've got him to myself again.
Yes, I am free. So I'm done with college forever.
Yeah.
And they had kind of an awards ceremony at the end. And
What do you mean, kind of? A big award ceremony?
they had an awards ceremony,
Yeah.
and I won some books.
What did you win it for?
I won it for Student of my house.
Student of the house. So like Gryffindor, Harry Potter wins Student of the house.
For my EPQ, which I talked about earlier, was on Arthurian Legend. I won it for drama academics as well, and also academic of the year.
So you're the golden child.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Such a high flight. No, well done. You deserve it. Anyway, talking about Christian Cameron then again. This is Tyrants by Christian Cameron, and this is, I believe, about a soldier in Alexander the Great's army. So this is during the period of Alexander the Great, and I think just after he dies as well. But yeah, so this is one of his first Greek series. I'm really looking forward to reading this. After I finish the Long War, which is about Ariamnestos, I will go into this one. There's quite a few books there to keep me ticking for a couple of months, so which I'm very excited about. Yeah, Christian Cameron's so prolific.
How does he write that much? That's all good content as well.
Yeah, exactly. And each of them are like in my favourite books of all time. It's just crazy, but you know, his writing obviously gels very much with me and many others because he is very popular. He's known as the historical fiction king, and so he should be. And also his fantasy and sci-fi now as well is beautifully written. So definitely go check out Christian/Miles Cameron.
And next up, I have another book in the ribbon, and this is I've got it upside down. The Applied Theatre Reader. I think Mama and Papa Gwynne are scared because this is about putting the methodologies of practitioners to practice.
No!
And I may be somewhat obsessed with method acting. Stanislavski. I've not done it myself, but I love the idea of method acting, and this may be teaching me how to put it into practice.
We watch a programme or a film together, and he chooses a character to become. So you can think that's all right when you watch, Winnie the Pooh, that's fine. When you watch, I don't know, Outnumbered, but when you start watching things like Split, Split,
amazing film
with the guy who's got 27 different personalities and each one is terrifying, then William chooses to become them individually, including the bloke who climbs the wall. So yeah, it's pretty scary. I've had to ring mum and dad up sometimes at 2 a.m. before they were off, and saying, please can you get him on a leash, because he won't, because he just goes crazy, or he'll try and kill you.
It's not my fault, to be fair. I'm someone else. It was his fault. And so I'm going to have a few months free. So
don't watch Silence of the Lambs, Will.
Hannibal or Joker.
Yeah.
A lot of you may know that acting is one of my favourite things. I'm not very good at it, but I do love to dabble.
You're not very good. What grade did you get for your practical work?
I haven't got my grade yet.
Well, what are you going to get though?
I don't know.
Yes, you do.
I don't know.
What have you got before?
An array of grades.
William.
I got an A star for my academic.
Thank you.
But not the practical. But hopefully reading this will help with my practical work as well, make me a better actor.
You'd hope so.
You'd hope so.
Again, going on to Christian Cameron, this is book 2 of The Long War. But yeah, so this is about Ariamnestos. I would recommend Killer of Men, absolutely. It's gone into my favourite books of the year so far. Favourite books of all time as well. So definitely
I've not seen a book
out.
affect you like Killer of Men.
Yeah.
I think you weren't not reading Slump, but it had been a while since you really had a book that really engaged you.
Yeah.
That you're thinking about.
Well, since Lonesome Dove, like last month.
But I think it's even more so. I think Lonesome Dove, you're looking forward to getting back to it, but you weren't thinking about it all day. It's like you're saying you're at work and you love your work, but you're saying that in your breaks you're just thinking, I need to read Killer of Men.
Yeah,
Killer of Men.
Too. So I know I'm going to love book 2 just as much as Marathon. I know a little bit about Marathon, so yeah, it's going to be pretty cool.
And the next book I have is A History of English Literature. I love that idea, and that's quite a chunky book, so I'm going to have a lot to get through. I read, I think it's the exact same name, A History of English Literature by John Sutherland, but it's much more condensed. Really brilliant. If anyone wants something that's not too dry, something that's just a quick overview of how literature has evolved, I definitely recommend A History of Literature by John Sutherland, and hopefully this as well, but we'll see after I get through this beast.
Once you unwrap it, if you ever will.
That may be a while.
You have to get like an extra copy so you
it
can
has
read
sentimental value.
Yeah,
I don't want to undo that. And the ribbons look so nice.
They do. It looks like the broken binding, actually.
It looks like the same ribbon. That sound was some books falling over, which
some
is
books
sacrilegious.
I will pause there. Okay, the books have been saved, and now we're on to Flannery O'Connor's Wise Blood. Now, I don't know much about this, apart from it's set in the Deep South, and it's a big influence of Cormac McCarthy. So that's enough to get me to read it whenever. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to this. I think it's had really great reviews, and Flannery O'Connor has a very unique writing style to her, or him. Flannery? Boy, girl? Not sure.
Not sure.
That's just me assuming.
We'll find out.
We will find out.
We'll find out. And next up I have Speeches of Note, which is basically, it's a compilation.
That's hefty.
It is hefty. It's a compilation of speeches of the ages.
Is it all just Churchill?
I guess I'll find out. He was a master of rhetoric. But I guess
why do you say that with a slight twinge in your voice?
Well, me and Churchill have had a bit of a love-hate relationship over the course.
There's a lot of people who can say that.
I've read a lot about Churchill. It was kind of an obsession, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I admire.
He had like posters of Churchill on the ceiling, and then on it, and then sometimes you come in and had to have like red knife wounds through it.
Not quite. I think I'd be really worried if I was getting to that stage. But Churchill, love him and admire him, but hate him at the same time. But hopefully there'll be more than just Churchill speeches in here. It's meant to be something that you can kind of just flick through, and
whatever event you need to do a speech for.
Romans, countrymen, and hopefully this will help my own rhetoric, help me maybe in the idea of writing my own dialogue as well.
You could perform some of them on the channel.
That would, if anyone's interested. Sorry, if anyone's ever interested in hearing some dramatic performances, some monologues from anything, from films or plays, anything, I'd be really happy to give it a shot. So if you do have an interest in that, no worries if not. Yeah.
And if I'll dress him up. I'm the clothesman.
You're the clothesman. Yeah. So just put those. That is the clothesman. And, the costume designer.
We need to show everyone your St. Christmas Day speech at some point, because
maybe on the anniversary we'll put it up on the channel. That'd be cool. But for now, that's Speeches of Note.
And my next one is an Adrian Goldsworthy book called Philip and Alexander. So again, into this Greek mythology and also historical period. Ancient Greece, I'm looking at Philip and Alexander. Now, Adrian Goldsworthy is a great Roman historian, and he's also seen, by the looks of it, he's done some Greek stuff as well. So this is a non-fiction, it's not historical fiction. Printed by Head of Zeus, which they are great in printing, and also this has had really, really great reviews. I'm looking forward to finding out all about the history. I don't know really anything about Alexander, apart from he took over like half of the world. So yeah,
and he died when he was like 32.
And I think Philip was his dad. Yeah, he died when he was very young. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to this one.
And okay, I need a bit of explanation going into these last four. Okay, I was having exams and I got into a bit of a gold phase. And I was looking through
a gold phase. You sound like you're in California.
You'll know what I mean when I lift this up. And so, you know, I'm just going to get right into it. This is the Divine Comedy.
Show the side.
It's got golden pages.
So it's why William has no money, because he's got 25 karat gold on him.
I have no money. I spent all my money just on these. You'll see what the others are. This is the Divine Comedy. And I am so looking forward to reading this. You read it recently, didn't you?
I read Inferno recently. I've read the whole comedy before. But Inferno is the best bit.
And I know that Tolkien was very heavily inspired by the Divine Comedy. I actually bought it because of the recommendation of one of our watchers. I only said readers then. One of the audience. One
of our countrymen.
One of our countrymen. One of them, they said that Tolkien was part of Dante's Society Club.
Yeah.
and I've probably said that
I'd love
completely
to be
wrong.
in that.
But Dante Society and the
The
orcs.
Dante boys.
The Dante boys. And orcs in Middle-earth are apparently inspired by the demon portrayal in Divine Comedy. So
Yeah.
obviously I'm going to read it. So thanks to I've forgotten who commented that, but thank you if you're watching this.
And on to my next one. I thought I actually need to get some fantasy because I'm really not in the loop with fantasy coming out already that I haven't featured on the channel yet. So here is Son of the Storm. And I've heard really great things about this. I think it came out in May.
Yeah,
I believe.
recently.
I love the cover. And yeah, I don't know too much else about it apart from that it's had really good reviews so far. It's a bit of fantasy. I'm looking forward to getting stuck into it. Not diving or delving, but stuck into it.
We're adding some new words.
I know we're evolving.
We are evolving.
We're moving.
And this is classic works from women writers, which there's a long list of the authors who
Show
are
the
in
side
this.
again.
Gold, but it's black instead of brown, goldy, bronze,
Tan.
tan. I could have said any word and you just nailed it. Nailed it.
54. Is it 45 more?
What is the answer, Marta?
9.
No, it's 8.
Well, we should.
Okay, that's School of Rock reference. But this is works from women writers, and I'm really looking forward to just dabbling into some bits. Like, I've read a few. I think it's got The Yellow Wallpaper by what's her name?
Agatha Christie.
No,
Charlotte Gilman.
Charlotte Perkins Gilman. Yes. Well, you just. It's the second
Second
name.
one.
It's the second name. Yeah, and that was really great. So I'm looking forward to just reading a few pages, getting a bit of widening my literary scope.
Very nice. Have you read any Virginia Woolf?
I have. Orlando I thought was really great, but I do need to read more. I think The Lighthouse I'm going to read soon.
Oh, is that? There's loads of people who've written The Lighthouse. I think Poe wrote something called The Lighthouse.
He did, yeah, he did. As
But
we found out
I
through the
don't-
following.
Yeah, I don't think Mark Morris though has ever written anything about The Lighthouse. He's writing
Oh,
about
that is
the
a
Anglo-Saxons. Such a nice edition.
Edition.
This is very new. I think it came out in June or the end of May, this book. But this is Mark Morris's The History of Beginnings of England, so an Anglo-Saxon guide, as it were. He's a great historian. He's written fantastic books on the Norman conquest. Me and Dad have been lucky enough to go meet him. He did a talk near where we live in Pevensey, which is next to where the Normans landed in the Norman conquest of 1066. And he did a little talk, read from his book, spoke about the castles and the culture and the surrounding of the prehistory and also the post-history of the Battle of Hastings. So it's fantastic. We loved that because being reenactors, we've reenacted at the Battle of Hastings and it's amazing with the cavalry charge there. But yeah, the Anglo-Saxons is going to be a great non-fiction all about the history of the Anglo-Saxons. Usually people are so focused on the Vikings, aren't they?
Yeah.
On the Viking culture, the Anglo-Saxons kind of get overlooked when they had some great characters such as Alfred the Great, literally. So yeah, really looking forward to this one.
And I have another gold book, and this is the complete works
Whoa.
of William Shakespeare. That is massive. Mundungus.
When
See,
William
we-
goes to say it's something massive, he goes, "It's Mundungus Fletcher from Harry Potter."
I don't know how
why.
you know when like you say something is a joke and then you say it again and you
It coins,
forgot how
yeah.
it originated, but you just remember
It's
what it now means.
Mundungus.
And often I say this in public and forget that no one else
Like
knows what
you went, "I'm
massive.
Massive.
I forget that
It's
no
not
one
6
knows.
foot tall, Will. That's my massive.
Close.
Shows you how
Close to be
short we
fair.
are.
No, we're very tall. This is a complete works of William Shakespeare. I love William Shakespeare. His works, anyway. And I recently read Richard III. Really loved that. I love King Lear, Macbeth. I won't go into a list of everything I've read and loved.
You love
but
Macbeth.
hopefully there'll be some more
The
added to the
guy's
list.
evil.
He's conflicted.
Misunderstood.
He's misunderstood. He's conflicted.
And on to the next one then is Men of Bronze. So obviously with my Greek phase kicking off, this is me studying hoplite combat. This is by Donald Kagan and Gregory F. Vigiano. So I just saw this on Amazon, to be honest, and I thought this looks right up my street. I think it'd be really good to read about. It's had some really good reviews as well, talking about it doesn't give those misconceptions that some other books about Greek combat do actually give. So looking forward to this one.
And then I have the classic tales of science fiction and fantasy, and this has got a wide array of works. It's like the classic works of women writers, I think it's called. It's a bit like that. So we've got a list of writers on the back there, and you can just find where they are, whoever I'm interested in at that time.
And you can read about them.
And you can read about them. Exactly. So you've got like Jules Verne, H.G. Wells, H.P. Lovecraft, Charlotte Perkins Gilman again. Got a huge array. Arthur Conan Doyle.
I haven't heard of any of these.
Have you not?
No.
Well,
I've heard of H.P. Lovecraft.
yeah. Jules Verne?
Who is that?
Isn't that...
Who are they?
Jules Verne, I forgot what it was he wrote then, but it's Journey into the Centre of the Earth.
Oh.
I just checked. And so, yeah, a wide array again. I'm really looking forward to dabbling my fingers into some of these.
Okay.
Okay, that's not a sentence.
The next book I bought was A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. So apparently this is like the most heartbreaking book of all time. So I'm looking forward to this one, definitely. I think it's about just a group of friends and just their life together, but it's told in a very heartbreaking way. So I don't really know much else more than that, apart from it has ruined people. So yeah, nice.
And that's the end of the physical books that I have. I've ordered a few from the Broken Binding, which aren't here yet. So The Desert Prince by Peter V. Brett, which won't be out for quite a while. That's a signed edition, very nice. I ordered yesterday A Fool's Hope, looking forward to doing a read-along with Philip Magnus for the second instalment of that series. We did it for We Are the Dead, loved it. What else? She Who Became the Sun. We've got it on NetGalley, we're going to read it, but I definitely want a physical copy.
I want an American copy.
Oh, the cover is beautiful, isn't it? I really like.
You probably get one on.
See, I really like the English version, but it's just like overshadowed by the American version.
The American one's just so nice. So yeah, the next book I have here is by Kat Jarman, and it's called River King. So it's another history of the Vikings, and this is it's read by Bernard Cornwell. Here he said, an astonishing and compelling triumph. So that sounds pretty cool. Can
you imagine?
I do follow Kat on yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I do follow Kat on Twitter, and before she published the book, she's an archaeologist. So I'm really looking forward to finding reading her fresh perspective on Viking cultures and their history and the way they lived. And I like that she's mentioning to the Silk Roads as well, because lots of people think just Vikings. They went to England, and that's all they did. But there's so much more. Like there were Vikings in Constantinople, graffitiing in churches. So you can imagine some big group of Varangian guardsmen at the back of a church, not knowing really what's being said in the church service, and just graffitiing their way.
Harold was here.
Yeah, Hakon was here, I think it was something like that. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And my last book here is another one by Adrian Goldsworthy, who did a video for our channel advertising his new historical fiction in the June releases called The Fort. And this is called The Complete Roman Army. So I'm doing a little bit of research around the Romans. This is a very good comprehensive guide to the units, the way that armies were formed, trained, how they lived, and some of the campaigns they fought on. So it's going to be great.
Is that the end of your...
That is the end of
Wow,
my
we have got
pile.
through a lot of books there. Hopefully we can get through them all by next month. No, I'm joking. If we read that much, that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Although we are thinking of doing a charity event soon, and we're wondering if anyone had any ideas on what we could do book related. We thought maybe like a readathon. We read for like 24 hours straight.
With what if I need to go to sleep?
No, you don't get to sleep for those 24 hours, Ed.
What?
So it starts like you can start it at like 8 in the morning, do it to the next 8 in the morning.
Okay.
And you can listen to audiobooks as well. But that's one idea. But if anyone has a better book related idea, we'd love to hear it. I think that's all we've got to say. This is our massive book haul. This is a lot of books. Book buying is a blessing and a curse. I've got books from the previous book haul we talked about last time piling around my room, which I can't fit on my shelf. I'm considering getting rid of my wardrobe for books. I mean, clothes,
overrated.
Books, books every single time. The clothes can go somewhere else, I'll find space for them, and somehow I need to fit all of these on there as well. I think we're just going to steal Papa Gwynne's room, just pile the books up in here. It's our room.
Yeah, it's mine.
But thank you for watching. If you did enjoy, please do subscribe. Let us know which books you've bought recently. And I think that's all that we have today from the Brothers Gwynne. Again, hope you enjoyed. Truth and courage.
Stay safe.
The Brothers Gwynne.
Truth and courage.